بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله ومن تبعهم بإحسان يوم الدين أما بعد. وعن أبي حمزة أنس بن مالك رضي الله تعالى عنه خادم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. رواه Imam Bukhari and Muslim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inshallah, this week we'll be starting the 13th hadith of Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayh. And as we spoke about last week, that Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayh, the first 11 hadiths that we went over, he was building the structure of our iman. He was building the foundation of our iman, just getting things started, putting the necessity down, our Islam down. You know, what is salah, what is zakat, what is hajj, what is sawm. And then our iman, amantu billah wa malaikati wa kutubihi wa rusuli, putting ihsan down, these main foundations, halal, haram, and what's between that, the mushtabihat. And then from hadith number 12, as we made mention, that now Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, by just placing the placement of the hadith, now he is, after building the foundation, he is now beautifying our Islam. Right? He is beautifying our Islam, and this is why, you know, the last hadith that we spoke about, it was about characteristics. It was about the tongue. Right? Leaving, it is from the beauty of Islam that a person leaves that which does not concern him. And we spoke about that leaving ma la ya'ni, it is in actions and also in qawl. It is in fi'l and it is in qawl. It is in dunya and it is in the akhirah. Leaving those things that do not concern you. And this hadith number 13, again, it built upon that. That the foundation is built, and now we're perfecting our iman, we're perfecting our religion. And again, this is done through characteristics. Right? The famous hadith of Rasulullah said that I was sent to complete good characteristics. I was sent to complete good characteristics. This hadith is narrated on the authenticity of Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu. And as our habit, the first time we make mention of a narrative of these, we spend a little bit of time speaking about the narrative of the hadith, just so we have an idea about the people who surrounded Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we commonly translate it as the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But it's actually more than that. Why? Because you also have to know the people who surround Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the azwaj al-mutahhara, the Ahl al-Bayt, the people, the Sahaba ajma'in, the friends, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also includes the enemies of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the enemies of Islam. So the narrator of this hadith is Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came from Makkah to Mukarramah to Medina to Munawwarah, that day for the believers, the people of Medina would say the day that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Medina, that was the best day that we can ever imagine. It was the most happiest day. We heard so much about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first Aqaba, the second Aqaba, people went to Makkah to Mukarramah, they accepted Islam, they came back to Medina to Munawwarah, and they taught us about Islam. And they taught us about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they told us all about him. And we were just waiting for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come, and the day that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Medina to Munawwarah, the Sahaba Tajmeen said, that was the most happiest day for us. That was the day that we were waiting for. And the Sahaba said, the worst day possible for us was the day that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world. So the day that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Medina to Munawwarah, this was the most happiest day. And many different people were expressing their love differently. One companion comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he brings a plate full of dates. And he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I have different gardens of dates. And here are a little bit of sampling of different gardens. Take whichever you like and just taste it. I will bring the rest for you. Another companion comes, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, me, I am here to service whatever you want, you tell me and I'll take care of it. Another companion comes, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my time. Another companion says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my wealth. Another companion says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, anything you want, tell me. These were the Sahaba, the Ansar Sahaba. They were known as the Ansar. Why? Because they put out everything for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muhajir brothers. But then there was Sahabiyat, the women Sahaba, who those that had the wealth, they would go and present. This was their expression of love to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They would present their wealth to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then there were those Sahabat ajma'in, the women, who didn't have that kind of wealth. And there was the one Sahabiya, Ansari Sahabiya, who came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah, I don't have gardens of dates. And I don't have, gold and silver that I can give you. But what I have is I have a 10-year-old boy. I have a 10-year-old boy. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I give you my son. I give you my son, keep him as your own son. Make him your servant, whatever you want, have him do it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looks at this boy. 10-year-old boy, 10-year-old. At that age, it's a very, very beautiful age. The children at 10 years old, they're just learning stuff, right? At the age of 5, they're slowly picking up characteristics. But at the age of 10 is when they're like sponges. That anything you tell them, you can mold them whichever way you want. And this mother, she sees an opportunity that, who will be a better person to mold my son than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looks at his son, he looks at this boy, Anas bin Malik, and he says, do you want? That's fine. And he says, Anas, I want you to come in the morning, after Fajr Salah, while his mother is he said in front of Allah, I want you to come after Fajr Salah, spend the day with me, and at night, go back to your mother, and spend the night with your mother. Anas radhiyallahu anhu, in one hadith he says, that I spent 10 years with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Medina for 10 years. There was a day that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Medina, my mother came and presented me to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I spent 10 years with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A very beautiful hadith. He says that never once did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, Anas, why do you do this like this? Or never once did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, Anas, why didn't you do like that? He never scolded me. He never got mad at me. He never got upset with me. He was always happy with me. And he treated me like his own son. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would actually call Anas Sultan, he would address him as Ya Bunayya, my son. Ya Bunayya, my son. Anas bin Malik, as we said, his mother's name was Sulaym. Sulaym, when she accepted Islam, before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Medina Munawwara, she was married to a man by Malik bin Nadhr. And when she accepted Islam, her husband became so upset that he actually left Medina Munawwara. And he went to Syria and he passed away there, leaving Anas bin Malik as an orphan. His mother then accepted Islam to another Sahabi by the name Abu Talha. Abu Talha al-Ansari. And I want you to remember this name, because Abu Talha al-Ansari, we're going to talk a bit about him today. Right? What was the name? Abu Talha al-Ansari. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals a verse just because Abu Talha al-Ansari. Right? A very beautiful verse, and we might have mentioned this verse before, but she marries a man by the name of Abu Talha al-Ansari. So his father, he was an orphan, and his mother remarries to Abu Talha al-Ansari. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, again, Imam Tirmidhi rahmatullahi alayhi, he narrates 4 hadiths. That one time, Anas bin Malik, he says, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he sat me down and he said, Ya Bunayya, oh my son. His way of addressing, pure love. He says, when you enter into a house, the first thing I want you to do is say salam. When you enter into a house, forget about what's up, what's happening, hi, hello, right? But the first thing you should do when you come into a house is say salam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let me explain why. This will be a blessing for you, and it will be a blessing for the family as well. Right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, another hadith, when we mentioned this before, Afshu salam bainakum, spread salam. Man badiyu bis salam bariyu min al-kibr. Whoever initiates salam, he is free from pride. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sits down with this little boy, maximum 20 years old, right? From 10 to 20, from the age 10 to 20, he sits down with this little boy and he says, when you come into the house, first thing you should do, you should say salam, spread peace. And this is from the signs of a Muslim. And only a Muslim will say assalamu alaikum, right? Nowadays, some parts it becomes a trend, but it's a sign that a person is a Muslim, that he starts off with salam. What a beautiful way to initiate a conversation or initiate a gathering, that you send dua upon one another, and may peace be upon you. May peace be upon you. Another hadith says, this is actually a very beautiful hadith. Sorry, I said four before, but Imam Tirmidhi, I said four, but these are actually three hadiths. Now one day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, after Salah, he sat down with Anas al-Dhan, and he took hold of Anas al-Dhan's hand. Right? After Salah, he said, Anas, come sit here. And he said, give me your hand. And he took hold of his hand. Right? And this is a lesson that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is teaching us. Right? And he says to Anas al-Dhan, Anas, again, being a young boy, if you stand in the back, if you've already prayed your Salah, and you come into the masjid and Jamaat's happening, just look at the little kids in the back. Right? They're playing. It's natural. It's, we spoke about this. We spoke about saying, "As-sabiyu sabiyu lo kana nabiyun." The children, they'll be children, no matter what. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam takes Anas al-Dhan and he says to Anas, holding his hand, he says, "Don't look around here and there in Salah." Right? Don't look around here and there in Salah. Why? Because it will destroy you. It will destroy your Salah. Salah is a key fact. And when you look around here and there, your attention, your attention will be all over the place. Right? Now, if it was you and I, how would we handle this? Look at how Rasulullah did it. First, he has him come sit down. He holds his hand, giving him the feeling that, don't worry, you made a mistake, but it's okay. And he addressed them with pure love. That don't do this. And our situation, first thing immediately, hey, don't you know better? Look down in Salah. And we won't give a reasoning behind it because I said so. That's enough. Because I said so. But Rasulullah, he explains as well that looking here and there in your Salah, it will break your concentration, which will break you, which will destroy you. So he teaches Anas bin Malik in a very beautiful way. And this last hadith, third hadith, is extremely beautiful. Rasulullah again, he addresses Anas bin Malik, says, Ya bunayya, oh my son. He says that every morning and every night, look into your heart. Look into your heart. Spend time. Right? Take account of yourself, the deeds that you do. Right? Reflect upon yourself. What happened this day? What can I have done better? What can I have done different? Rasulullah says, Ya bunayya, oh my son, every morning, every night, spend some time and look into your heart. And if there is any hatred or jealousy or anger towards anybody, forgive him. Any hatred or anger towards anybody, forgive him. Another hadith, Rasulullah says, Man la yarham, la yurham. Whoever does not have mercy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not have mercy on them. Whoever does not forgive, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive them. So he says, look into your heart every morning and every night, and if there's any hatred or any anger towards anybody, forgive him. And the most beautiful part of the hadith, Rasulullah says, Ya bunayya, let me tell you why. Because I, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I do this every day. This is from my sunnah. I do this. So just imagine, add two and two together, what do you have? That in the morning, they throw stones at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and at night Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, I forgive you. In the morning, they take the intestines of a camel upon the back of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to the point that he cannot push himself off the sajda. And at night Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, don't worry, I forgive you. In the morning, they curse Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and say, Rasulullah, you are abtar, that your lineage is cut off and you do not have any male children. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, don't worry, I forgive you. No, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was a perfect example for us. Our situation. You do something to me and I will hold a grudge against you to the end of time. In our culture, brothers and brothers will not speak over something absolutely silly. Right? Neighbors won't speak to each other. Why? Because something really ridiculous. We are the champions of holding grudges against each other. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, look into your heart. He didn't say, look into your heart and if you see any hatred towards a Muslim, or you see a hatred towards your family, or you see a hatred towards your brother, that you see hatred towards anybody, forgive him. Why? Because I, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is my sunnah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in another hadith says, whoever loves me, they will hold on to my sunnah. Whoever loves me, they will act upon my sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this was the love, again, he treated Anas bin Malik as his own son. And in return, Anas bin Malik, he loved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam just back. He loved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam just the very same time. One time, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he sent Anas bin Malik out to do some work. Right? We have some little work that kids can do. Go tell the neighbor this, or go get this from the market. Right? If there's an easy job, you send the little kid to do it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sent Anas, go take care of the job for me. Anas he says that I went, and when I went outside, there were some kids playing. Right? It's like, the kids are playing basketball, or the kids are playing some kind of sport. And as he said that I just began to watch. And started watching what's happening, who's on whose team. Oh, he's getting the rebound. Oh, he's shooting. He said, I just started to watch what's happening, and time began to fly by. I lost track of time. And somebody came and held onto my head and my shoulders. Someone came and held onto my head and my shoulders, and I tried turning my head to see who is this person? Who is this person? And I went to the right, no, I couldn't do it. I went to the left, no, I couldn't do it. And I finally looked around and I saw it was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I realized that some time passed, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam got worried, where's Anas? And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, what happened, Anas? You forgot what I said? You forgot about the work that I did? And Anas said, Rasulullah, I'll go do it now. Rasulullah said, don't worry, go take care of it. And he returned back home. Right? Rasulullah returned back home, and Anas went and took care of this job. Again, this is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's teaching us a lesson, how to deal with children. Right? We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we are extremely harsh on our children. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he teaches how to deal with children. To be patient, to mold them, to give them time, to do the tarbiyah, to take care of them, to take care of the upbringing. He doesn't get upset with Anas, I've been waiting for so long, what are you doing? We tell our child to go get water. If we have to say the second time, we immediately get upset. The pani dao. I've been waiting. And we say one thing once, the second thing we become very upset. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he shows no sign of upset. He shows no sign of anger. He shows no sign of disappointment. But he goes and grabs Anas's shoulders and head, just playing around with Anas Sultan. Just showing that love. Anas Sultan, he says that one time I was eating with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I was eating with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I saw that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the plate of food, he was looking for zucchini. Like you say kaddu in Urdu, but you can translate it just like zucchini, squash.
Yes.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was looking for this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's habit was ma'aba Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ta'aman qattu. Rasulullah's habit is ma'aba Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ta'aman qattu. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never showed fault for any food. He never said, oh, this is salty, or this tastes bad, or this is like this is like that. We immediately become food critics. We immediately become food critics that, dal namak bahut ho gaya, this is that. We go into details. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never complained about food, never showed any fault in the food. If he liked it, he would ask for more. If there's something that he liked, he would ask for more. And something that he would dislike, he would just leave it. He wouldn't say anything about it. So Anas Sultan, he's sitting with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're eating together, and he sees that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is looking into the plate for some squash, some zucchini. Anas Sultan says, that day I understood that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam liked zucchini. And from that day, I made sure if there was zucchini in the plate, that I got the zucchini. Right? Not to take away from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but that immediately built a love for him. Even though he might not have liked it, but he changed his taste buds because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam liked a certain thing. Anas bin Malik says that the 10 years I spent with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sometimes we spend some time together. And in the beginning, things are all, things go very smooth and happy and, rainbows and sunshine. But as time goes by, we start to see each other's faults. And we can't wait to get away from each other. Make him a job. Right? Go to your mother's house, give me some free time alone. Anas says, I spent 10 years with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and every day of those 10 years, I couldn't wait to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I couldn't imagine that a day goes by that I couldn't see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That I wanted to spend my every day with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anas bin Malik, in their early stages, again he was young, in the battle of Badr, in the battle of Uhud, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't allow him to take part in these battles. Why? Because he was very young. But after this, he was spending every day with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then, even when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in these battles. The day that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Anas bin Malik, he became, of course, this had a very big impact on him. A person who was just, Anas bin Malik, he had open permission from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you can come into the house, all you have to do is say salam. When you enter the house, just say salam, you don't have to knock, you don't have to take permission. I give you open permission. So he had open access to the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just like family. Going in when he wants, leaving when he wants. So he had this habit, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. He says, I began to cry excessively. And Malik says, I began to cry excessively until what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He comforted me. And the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comforted me is that every single day I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dreams. I cried so much that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mercy upon me, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw my condition, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave me the ziyarah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam every day when I would go to sleep, I knew I would see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dreams. Anas bin Malik, he says that my mother brought me to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is my son Anas, make dua for him. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made three duas for Anas bin Malik. The first dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made, he said, "Oh Allah, increase him in his wealth, give him a lot of wealth." Anas bin Malik says that at one time I was the wealthiest person of the Ansar. From the Ansar, I was the wealthiest person. And I didn't used to work. But alhamdulillah, money would just come. And Anas bin Malik, he would have a lot of gardens. And where everybody's gardens gave fruit once a year, because of the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his garden gave fruit twice a year. They would give fruit twice a year. Anas bin Malik, and the second dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made for Anas bin Malik, he said that, "Oh Allah, give him a lot of children. Give him a lot of children." In our day and age, people consider this badua, right? Keep those children to yourself. I don't want this many children, right? But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua that give Anas Sultan a lot of children. And at one time, Anas Sultan says that with my children and grandchildren combined, he had over 100 children and grandchildren combined. And another hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made dua that Anas bin Malik give a long life. Live a long life. And Anas bin Malik, he lived a life, he passed away in the 93rd year of Hijrah. 93rd year. So if he was 10 years old when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Madinah Munawwarah, and he passed away in the 93rd year of Hijrah, how long had he lived? 103 years old. He was 103 years old. You know, there's a joke about Anas Sultan that one time they went outside to see the moon. In the beginning of Ramadan. And Anas Sultan, he said, "Oh, the moon's there," right? Whether this joke is true or not. And everyone's like, where's the moon? And it was actually one of the white hairs from his eyebrows. It was one of the white hairs from his eyebrows. Allahu Alam, how true that is. So Anas bin Malik, he lived to be 103 years old. And there were only two companions that lived past Anas Sultan. Right? He was the third last companion to pass away. He passed away in Basra. The total number of hadiths that Anas bin Malik narrates, he narrates 1,286 hadiths. 1,286 hadiths by a 20-year-old boy. 20-year-old boy. Again, Anas bin Malik, he's an inspiration to children. So from a young age, many of the narrators that we talked about, they were very young. And many of the narrators only got a little amount of time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Anas bin Malik, again, as a child, he valued what he had. He was known as Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi. He brings the title of Anas bin Malik as Khadim Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Khadim Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a servant of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, around the 8th year of Hijrah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wrote letters to the different kings. Letters to the different kings. And one of the letters that he wrote to Hercules, calling him to Islam. And at that time, Abu Sufyan, he hadn't accepted Islam, and he was in that kingdom. And in Hercules, he called Abu Sufyan, he asked Abu Sufyan, tell me about this man Muhammad. And Abu Sufyan, even though he wasn't Muslim, he honestly gave his opinion that he's from a noble family, he's fought with us, and some battles he's won, some battles he hasn't won. And Hercules, he replied back to Abu Sufyan, saying that if I was with him, if I was with this man Muhammad, then sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I would wash his feet. If I was with him, I would become his khadim and I would wash his feet. Now, if you look at this, a king of his time who had rulership over a whole country, he makes dua that if I was with him, I would wash his feet. But whose dua gets accepted? A 10-year-old orphan whose father had passed away. He becomes the khadim of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, when he mentions the name of Anas bin Malik, he says, this hadith again is An Abi Hamza, Anas bin Malik radiyallahu ta'ala an, khadim Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was a servant of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam qal, that this is from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, La yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibbu li'aqi ma yuhibbu li'nafsi. Now to the hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that none of you, and if you look at the wording of the hadith, La yu'minu actually means none of you is a believer. If you do word-to-word translation, you have none of you is a believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. But in this, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he uses the word La yu'minu, he doesn't mean that you're not a believer, but your iman is not complete. It is still adura, it is still incomplete. Right? We're building upon the foundation, and we are beautifying and perfecting our iman. Right? Now, what is something that is complete? What is the definition of something that is complete? What is the definition of something that is perfect? If you look for something that is perfect, for instance, if you were to say, the lights in this masjid are perfect. Right? For the lights in this masjid to be perfect, the lights have to be complete. Anything that is incomplete, we do not categorize it as perfect. So, with everything in our life, we try to look for perfection. Whether it's your house, your car, your family, your own self, your body, we try to look for perfection. How can I become perfect? How can I have the perfect car? How can I have the perfect job? How can I have the perfect house, the perfect spouse, the perfect children? We look for perfection in everything. But our iman is imperfect. It is not complete. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he teaches us how to complete our iman. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب نفسه. That to complete your iman, that you will not be a complete believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. Now, you can look at this on many different levels. Right? The clothing that we wear, the food that we eat, the house that we live in, the success that we have, the Jannah that we ask for ourselves. Anything that we have for ourselves, anything that we want for ourselves, we should want for our Muslim brother. Now, our situation is, forget about our Muslim brothers having it. We don't even want our real brothers to have it. Right? If I drive a Mercedes, he should drive a Camry. Right? He shouldn't drive a better car than me. He shouldn't drive a car like me. He should be below me, and I should be above him. This is our mentality. If I have a good job, he should have an okay job. He shouldn't earn more than me. He shouldn't earn like me. Right? Forget about our Muslim brothers again. We're talking about inside of our family, our parents, our siblings, our children. We have this need to be better than other people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith is teaching us it's not like that. But what you want for yourself, you should want that for other people as well. The food that you want, the verse that we mentioned before, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. That you will not achieve greatness, you will not achieve good until you spend from that which you love. Right? We spend from that which we don't love, which you don't need. But the Quran says, spend from that what you love. What you want for yourself, what you want to keep for yourself, give that. Let your brothers have that. Let your brothers have what you want for yourself. In one hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Al-mu'minuna kajasadin wahid. That the Muslim ummah is like a body. If the eye is in pain, then the head will be in pain. And if the head is in pain, the whole body will be in pain. Meaning, if your neighbor is in pain, then you should feel the pain. If somebody in the community is going through something, then you should feel that pain as well. Today, in the masjid, we had a bone marrow drive. We had a bone marrow drive in the masjid. And somebody was looking for a match. A musalli of this masjid. And musalli, now we're not talking about somewhere in Chicago or somewhere in America. But a Muslim musalli of this masjid is looking for a match. And, so many people are just walking by. All it took, it took one page of just name, birthday, social security, address, and one little section of your emergency contact. That's all you had to fill out. And what they did is they took 4 cotton swabs and circled around your mouth. And just by doing this, you could possibly save another Muslim brother's life. Why? Because if one person is in pain, then you should be in pain as well. They don't have to be your brother. If it was your brother, then you would definitely do it. If it was your father, you would be the first one and you would call all of your friends and call everyone that walks by, that brother, please help, brother, please help, brother, please help. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, just the way that you want other people to sign up, you should sign up as well. If it was you, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. You want everybody to sign up. If it was someone that you knew, then just like that, you should want everybody to sign up for somebody else. Call the people. Have you signed up? You should sign up. It'll take 5 minutes. It'll take 5 minutes. It'll take 5 minutes. And who knows, just because of you saying this, you can give somebody an extra day of their life. An extra year of their life. You can give children their father for an extra year. Why? Feel another person's pain. When they are in pain, feel that pain. It's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Muslim ummah is like one body. If the eye hurts, the head will hurt. And if the head will hurt, the whole body will hurt. This is the bond that we share with one another. The Sahabas that made. One time a Sahabi was at home and they had prepared a goat's head. Now a goat's head, if you look at a goat's body, the head is a part of the body that has less meat. There's not much meat. The shoulder, the thighs, the back, more meat. The ribs, more meat. And they're preparing this goat's head where he said to himself that maybe I should give it to my neighbor. Give it to my neighbor. Whatever little meat he had, even though it wasn't much, he goes, let me give it to my neighbor. And he gives it to his neighbor. And now, he's sitting there at home without any food. After some time, he hears a knock on the door. He opens the door, and there's somebody else. And they said, look, I was just about to eat. Here's something for you. He looks at it, it's that same goat's head. Same goat's head. And he said, wait, where do you get this from? He said, so-and-so gave it to me. Went to that person, where did you get this from? So-and-so gave it to me. And this finally find out that it actually traveled 7 different houses. 7 different houses before it reached that same companion. Each person had the same concern that maybe my neighbor might be hungry. Maybe my neighbor might be hungry. Maybe the person, they might be in need of food. In one battle, a Sahabi says that I saw my cousin. He was injured and wounded on the battlefield. Very famous hadith. And he said, I had a little bit of water and I rushed towards him. Thinking that at the time that he's dying and he's injured, his throat might be dry. Let me quench his thirst before he leaves this world. And let me, give him the energy. Maybe I might get some energy from the water. And I was about to put this water to his mouth, that he hears He hears, a sound, a sigh from another companion. And he points to me, go to him. He needs it more. So then I put down my cousin, and I run to this next companion. I put his head in my lap and put this water to his mouth. And as he's about to drink it, he hears another sigh. And he points to him, go to him first. He needs it more. I go to this third companion, third person. And by the time I reach there, the person has passed away. I return back to the second person, the second companion. By the time I reach there, he's passed away. I return back to my cousin. Let me give my cousin that water. By the time I reach there, he's gone as well. The companions, we learn from the companions, that they gave preference to the person next to them. They loved what they wanted for themselves, they gave to their brothers. One time a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A very famous, a very beautiful hadith, very beautiful story. A man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'm poor. I need some food. Feed me. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent somebody. He goes, go to my house. Ask them what's there to eat. Is there any food? This companion goes to the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He returns back and he says to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that there's nothing there. In the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is nothing there. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that I was given the option of either being a king and a prophet or a slave or a prophet. I was given the option that either I could be a king or a prophet or a slave or a prophet. And I choose the latter. I chose to be a slave. In one hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if I made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would turn a certain mountain into gold. If I wanted. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in another hadith says that what is my relationship with this dunya? My relationship with this dunya is nothing more than a traveler. That I am here for a small period of time and then I'll move on. The poet says, Jaga ji lagani dunya nahi. That this dunya is not so that you attach your heart to it. It's not made for you to attach your heart to it. You're here for a lesson, take your lesson and move on. So Rasulullah, in the house of Rasulullah, the companion comes back and he says, Rasulullah, there's nothing in the house, only water. Rasulullah said, okay, don't worry, go to the second house. Went to all the house of Rasulullah and there's nothing but water. As Aisha says that we would see the moon, Chaudhry ka Chand, on the 14th night. Ayyam would be the 14th, 16th, 17th. These are when the moon is complete. We would see the moon, and then the moon would leave. And then the moon would come out again, meaning a full month will go by. But the stove would not be lit in the house of Rasulullah. The fire would not be lit in the house of Rasulullah. The Rasulullah, he didn't have those provisions. And he chose to live like this. He chose simplicity. As Abdullah asks as Aisha, his aunt, then how do you survive? If you didn't have food, if you didn't cook, how do you survive? And she said, we lived on aswadin, we lived on water and dates. All we would have is water and dates, and we would feed ourselves with. So this companion comes to Rasulullah and says to Rasulullah, feed me. Rasulullah says, go to my house and see if there's anything there. Goes to each of the houses and comes out with the same answer. Rasulullah, there's nothing there. Rasulullah, again, if you look at this part, Rasulullah, when somebody comes to him with need. Now, that morning, Rasulullah, he left his own house. It wasn't that he was in ittikaf, he had no idea what was going on in his house. We all know what our situation is in our own houses. Rasulullah, he knew what his situation was, but he said, let me still try. Maybe they got some food from somewhere. So he knew that there's no food, but maybe a little bit of food came that they're saving for me, and we can give it now. Rasulullah, he doesn't say. He said, ask them, is there any food? He didn't say that, there's somebody here, he wants some food, do you have any food to give? But he says, is there any food? Is there anything in the house? So the first thing we learn from this, Rasulullah, when somebody comes to him in need, he first tried to solve it himself. He first tried to assist that person, aid that person himself. And when somebody comes to us, right, my situation is bad, but let me tell you, that person there, his pockets are deep. His pockets are big. Go ask him. But you learn from the life of Rasulullah that you don't need big pockets. But the one thing you need a big heart. You need a big heart to help other people. So Rasulullah, the first thing he does, he tries to help this companion himself. And when he cannot help this person, then he asks other people. He calls a favor. Right? We very easily call favors from our friends for ourselves. That I need help. But Rasulullah here teaches us that if you have to help somebody else out, if somebody else needs help, if you can't help them, then find some help. Don't just stop there, look, I can help you, bas khair. But go the extra mile. Ask your friends. Ask somebody else, can you help? Can you help? Can you help? Rasulullah stand up in the companions, ask the companions, that who can take this companion home for me? Who can take this companion home for me as a mehman, as a guest? Abu Talha al-Ansari said, Rasulullah, I will take him. Abu Talha al-Ansari, the stepfather of the narrator of this hadith. The narrator of the hadith, the stepfather of the narrator of the hadith. He goes home to his wife, Sulaym, and he asks Sulaym, is there any food in the house? Sulaym replies to Abu Talha al-Ansari that there's very little food. Just enough that either we eat or the kids will eat. And the kids, I've been keeping the kids and holding them off my bay, that Abba's gonna come, Abba's gonna come, Abba's gonna come. And when Abba comes, we'll have a family dinner, we'll eat together. Okay? We'll sit down together and we'll eat together. What should I do? Should I feed the kids? Or do we eat? There's only enough for one of the two. Abu Talha says that you want somehow keep the kids busy. Keep the kids busy and then put them to sleep. The kids are not going to eat. As for you and I, we're not going to eat as well. And this food is going to go to our guests. And Abu Talha al-Ansari, he makes a plan. He says that when we sit down, we put the food down. Act like you're playing with the lantern. You're adjusting the fire of the lantern and turn off. And it'll be complete dark. The food will be out. And you and I, we will act like we're eating food. We will put our hands into the food. And we'll take nothing back and we'll put it to our mouth and we'll chop away. Nom, 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 nom. We'll make some noise. We'll act like we're eating. We'll say we will do ta'rif of the food. We will praise the food. And like this, our guests will think that we're eating, and whereas haqiqat, we won't be eating. Why? Because there's not enough food. And this is what happens. Abu Talha al-Ansari, his kids go to sleep hungry. He goes to sleep hungry. And the next day he comes to the gathering of Rasulullah. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, in different places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in the mountain, in the cave, when there were just two people, the third was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're in that house, there were just three people. It was the wife of Abu Talha. It was Abu Talha and the guest of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Abu Talha thought that nobody was watching. And Abu Talha thought, if I turn off the lights, nobody will see what I'm doing. But Abu Talha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was watching. That Abu Talha thought, he comes into the gathering of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he sees Abu Talha thought. And he's smiling. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is smiling, he's happy. And he says to Abu Talha, what you did last night, wah, kya baat. What you did last night, subhanAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved what you did last night so much that He revealed a verse for you. يُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. That there are some unique people out there. Some unique people that are still out there in our time. That have this trait of Abu Talha al-Ansari. That we need to adopt into our lives. That give preference to other people. That help other people, even though they are lost. Their kids will be hungry and they will be hungry. And they will prefer that you let my guest eat. Let my neighbor eat. Let them have it and I will just be patient. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Talha, you thought you were alone, you thought nobody was watching, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was watching. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse that till the day of judgment, whenever somebody opens the Quran and reads the Quran, they'll read about Abu Talha al-Ansari. That years to come later on, years to come later on, 1400 years at this moment in time, we're talking about a man where he did it with the lights off. We're talking about what a man did with the lights off. Why? Because he gave preference to somebody else. And this is, again, this is the purity of our religion. This is the beauty of our religion. That our religion is not based upon who has more money. It's not based upon who has, who's higher in politics, who has more power. But our religion is based upon who has the best of characteristics. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Khayrukum," the best from amongst you, is the one who has the best characteristic with his family. In this story, يُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ خَصَاصَةٍ. He gave preference to somebody else, even though he was a boss. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith, he says that لَا يُؤْمِنُ أَحَدُكُمْ حَتَّى يُحِبُّ لِأَخِيهِ مَا يُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِهِ. On the day of judgment, when there will be no shade except for the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne, that mankind will be in a state of chaos. We've mentioned this before. That the hadith says the sun will be a handspan above our head. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, another hadith says that the fortunate person will be who finds space to put his feet onto the ground. There'll be so many people there. And everybody will be sweating according to their sins. It'll be extremely hot. Illa, except for sab'atun, 7 types of people that will be under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Under the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from these 7 people are rajulani tahabani fillah. That 2 people who love each other just for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That your relationship is with me, what is our relationship? Do we love each other because of the car that you drive, that sometimes you'll give me a ride in that car? Do you love each other because of the worldly things that you have, that I might be able to benefit from there, you might be able to benefit from what I have? Or do we love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Rajulani tahabani, 2 people on the shade on the throne, on the day of judgment, the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be those people who love each other for the sake of Allah. Al-hubbu fillah, wal-bughzu fillah. To love somebody just for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't care what they look like. Don't care about the family. Don't care about this and that. But just love them because they follow the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You love them, why? Because they follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there are not 2 people. Hadith Qudsi, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says there are no 2 people who love each other for my sake, except that my love is mandated upon them. That just because they love each other for my sake, that means they love me as well. That they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we spoke about the hadith, that the companion comes to Rasulullah and asks him, when is the day of judgment? Rasulullah says, what have you prepared? He says that I have nothing prepared, not much. Not much salah, not much zakat. But I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I love His Messenger. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, there are no 2 people who love each other, except that they have to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this hadith we see that the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, none of us is a true believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. Again, we're talking about our situation. Do we love for our brothers what we love for ourselves? Unfortunately, we're the total opposite. That we actually forget about seeing our brother in ease. We enjoy when our brother is in pain. We enjoy when our brother is in pain, and we find something to gossip on. That so-and-so, he's actually going through this. Na'udhu billah. So-and-so, they're having a divorce in their house. It gives us a topic to gossip about. He just lost his job. Right? This is happening, that is happening. Forget about loving for them what's good. But we enjoy when they're in pain. Na'udhu billah min dhalik. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he teaches us that your iman will be complete. You will taste the sweetness of iman when you love for each other what you love for yourself. Again, this hadith is narrated by Anas bin Malik Anas bin Malik al-Qan. His nickname was Abu Hamza. His mother's name was Sulaym. His father's name was Malik bin Nadr. His stepfather's name was Abu Talha al-Ansari. His mother came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the age when he was 10 years old, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina al-Munawwara, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given Anas bin Malik by his mother as a servant. He was known as Khadim Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He spent 10 years with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never once got mad at me. He never once said, Anas, why do you do this like this? Or he never once said, why didn't you do it like that? He taught us a lesson of being patient. Being patient with other people, in general with other people, but in children especially. Right? The Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never got mad at Anas bin Malik. That even when Anas bin Malik made mistakes, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat him down and said, Ya bunayya, oh my son. He held his hand and he taught him correctly. Don't look around here in salah. Why? Because it will destroy you. Say, Ya bunayya, oh my son, when you come into the house, first thing you say is, Assalamu alaikum. Right? Why? Because it will be a blessing for you and a blessing for the people that found the house. He said, Ya bunayya, every morning and every night, I want you to spend some time, look into your heart. If you find any hatred, then forgive them. Why? Because I, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this is what I do every single day and every single night. And this was a mutual love that they had for one another. Anas bin he loved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam just as much as that. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam left this world, Anas bin he cried so much until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comforted him. He says that I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam every day in my dreams. 3 du'as that Rasulullah made for Anas bin one for wealth, one for children, and third for a long life. In another hadith, it actually makes mention that oh Allah, enter Anas into the garden of paradise. Anas bin he lived to be 103 years old. He passed away in the 93rd year of Hijrah, and he passed away in the city of Basra. And he was the third last companion to be alive. He narrates a total hadith of 1,286 hadith. In this hadith, he says that Imam Nawawi says that on the authenticity of Anas bin Malik, who was the servant of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La yu'minu ahadukum," that none of you is a true believer. Your iman is not complete. Your iman has not reached the level of perfection. You still need to work on it, just the way that you work on everything else. And you want everything to be perfect. Then you should try to make sure your iman is perfect as well. And the way that you can make sure your iman is perfect, that you love for your brother, what you love for yourself. Don't be selfish. Don't want everything for yourself. Don't want success for yourself. You want that you drive a nice car. Our dua should be that, oh Allah, give us and give others as well. And we went through the steps of dua previously. We went through the steps of dua, and when we went through the steps of dua, what do we say? That first, make dua for others. Then you make dua for yourself. And what you want for yourself, you should actually make dua for others as well. Why? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when you make dua for your brother, an angel comes and says, Ameen. وَلَكَ مِثْلُ. And may you have the same as well. So, this is a lesson that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us, that لَا يُؤْمِنْ أَحَدُكُمْ حَتَّى يُحِبُّ لِأَخِيهِ مَا يُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِهِ. We said that this is on many different levels: education, clothes, food, right? That one for somebody else. At times, let them have it, and you live without it. Right? Give preference. يُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. We spoke about Anas bin Malik, that he gave preference to somebody else. He stayed hungry. His kids stayed hungry. His wife stayed hungry, and his guests, they ate. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. That you will not achieve greatness until you spend from that which you love, which you really love, which you're attached to. Give from that. So again, this is a very beautiful hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You get to learn how to live outside of this bubble that we have. Everybody, nowadays we have a bubble around ourselves that everything is based around me, mine. We're like a little baby. The more we grow, the more we're like a little child, an infant. That an infant, a 3-year-old child, anything that he sees, mine, that's mine, this is mine. The little infant does not want to share. And the older that we grow, we become the same. That this is mine. That should be mine as well. And that should be mine as well. And we don't want to give to others. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us, pop that bubble. Pop that bubble, and for a moment, forget about what you want for yourself, and think about what the other person wants. Think about what the other person needs. Why? Because the Muslim Ummah is like a body. It's like one body. Where you see somebody else in pain, feel that person's pain. Where you feel somebody else in need, feel that person's need. This was the habit of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This was the habit of the Sahabah Ajma'in. That when they saw somebody else in pain, they felt that pain. When somebody else came to them with need, they felt that need. Right? Another hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to a person that I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was hungry and you didn't feed me. And this person said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, how can I feed you? وَأَنْتَ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, and you are the Lord of the whole world. How can you be hungry? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, my so-and-so servant, he was hungry. Remember him? If you would have fed him, you would have satisfied me. But you didn't satisfy him. You didn't satisfy him, I am not satisfied. And in this hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says, I was sick and you didn't come to visit me.
Allah.
And this person said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how would I visit you? How were you sick? He said, my so-and-so servant, he was sick, he was going through some difficulty. And you were too busy in your own life. You had no time to give. You had no time to spare for somebody else. If you would have gone and visited him, I would have been satisfied with you. So again, this hadith, very beautiful hadith. It teaches us to live outside of just ourselves and look into other people's life. And this is the beauty of the brotherhood of Islam. The sweetness of the brotherhood of Islam. And the brotherhood of Islam is such that the people that do not have this brotherhood, the people that are not Muslims, they will never understand what this brotherhood is like. And unfortunately, the people that have this brotherhood, they will never value this brotherhood. Right? Value the brotherhood that we have. The brotherhood of Islam is that just because somebody else is a Muslim, that's enough for you to become best friends. So many times, a person eating in a plate, and you are sharing a plate with him where you don't even know their name, and the only thing that is linked you and that person to share food is you're Muslim. Somebody is somewhere and you see that the person is Muslim. The person says salam, that's enough for you to become best buddies. This is the brotherhood that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So the brotherhood of Islam is, the people that don't have this brotherhood, they'll never understand it. And the people that have this brotherhood, you and I, we will never value it. Right? لَا يُؤْمِنُ أَحَدُكُمْ حَتَّى يُحِبُّ لِيَقِي مَا يُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِهِ. None of you is a true believer. Work on our iman, perfect, add that beauty into the structure of our beliefs with these good qualities. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.